I want to talk about furry hate. But because this is like a homemade mini doc for YouTube, I have to start with an anecdote. I was a loser in high school. Groundbreaking, I know. I make videos for YouTube. Of course I was a loser in high school. And the summer after graduation, I wanted to switch things up. So I ditched the long hair, not a good look for me, not gonna lie. I got a whole new wardrobe and I tried my hardest not to have the social skills of Elon Musk on a bad Twitter day. And like, I'm not gonna lie to you, it kinda worked. I pulled it off. I had a glow up. Granted, it was like going from a broken light bulb to a fucking glow stick. Fuck it. But I had a secret. Ooh, no one could know. I was a furry. And still am. But you know. And dead ass, I was not gonna let a single person find out. Worse still, I went to a nerdy college, so like, people knew what furries were. I went to school with programmers and game designers and weebs. Honestly, being surrounded by a bunch of nerds at a nerdy college made a post-high school glow-up really easy. But for whatever reason, being a furry was like the lowest rung on the nerdy totem pole. And to me, being outed as one amounted to social suicide. I like hate. Most would say otherwise. Hate is a terrible thing, and it is. Most of the time. But there is a way to hate with taste. And that's what I hate most about furry hate. It is completely and utterly tasteless. I think furry hate comes from three places: opposition to deviance, social positioning, and, to be honest, self-loathing. But before we get into it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're into it, ring the bell even. It would mean the world to me. So let's dive in. There's a concept in sociology, everyone's favorite subject, called deviance. It's an umbrella term that encompasses any sort of behavior that society would consider abnormal. Now, I'm gonna let you, that's right, you, just you. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, okay? Brace yourself. Furries are weird. Furries are fucking social deviants, and that is a fact. Without getting too deep into human psychology, because honestly, too much research. No thank you. Humans tend to dislike deviant behavior in others, even if they themselves exhibit some sort of deviant behavior from time to time. In other words, when people do stuff that we're not familiar with, we react emotionally, and it's not always positive. So, when people see an instance of deviance that they don't really like, but can't exactly justify, they'll make shit up. Moralizing is a great way of doing this. Some may look at the fandom and they may not understand it. Who the fuck does? It'll seem very weird because it is, and they may dislike it. But they won't have a cogent reason for their dislike, besides maybe some gut feeling of disgust, maybe suspicion, and so they'll cast aspersions instead. They'll assume that the fandom is guilty of something, some moral wrongdoing. Furries are perverts, or animal abusers, whatever. Can't wait for this to get clipped out of context. Yay, I love the internet. What's interesting, really, is the fandom's relationship to deviance as a concept is very similar to the LGBT communities, which makes sense, considering that the furry fandom is kind of just a massive safe space for queer folk. There's nothing wrong with being a homosexual or being transgender, but because it makes some people uncomfortable, they'll assume that LGBT people are morally transgressing somehow. That LGBT people are predators, for example, even though there's no data that backs that up. In essence, some furry hate just comes from people disliking the unfamiliar or the odd and tying moral transgressions to that identity, and tying moral transgressions to it without any proof. Hell, you could get extra spicy and say that maybe some furry hate really is just queer hate in disguise. Just a thought.
Spicy.
One of the strangest things in nerd culture is the complete and utter lack of solidarity at times. Even when people with nerdy interests find themselves put down and marginalized in some way or another, those nerdy individuals will still find some way to stratify their fold and have themselves placed higher on some imaginary nerdy totem pole, as if there really is some amount of inherent dignity to preferring Star Trek over Star Wars. It's a dumb fucking argument. First couple of years at college, I did not really come off as very nerdy. As an outsider looking in, I saw a loose hierarchy. It was absolutely there. Gamers! Ooh, the most oppressed people on the planet. They occupied the top of the totem pole. They were high up there. Mind you, we had like entire majors and academic divisions dedicated to gaming. So honestly, if you didn't play video games, you were kind of the weirdo. Below that, you had the LARPers. They'd get teased a little bit, but for the most part, people had some respect for them. At least they did something physical, you know? We didn't really have any sports teams formally at our college, so we were all generally kind of weak as hell. They got together on the weekends, hitting each other with swords in the quad. It was always weird to wake up to that. Just look outside your dorm window and, oh, there's some 20, 30 people just going at it with broadswords and shields. And below that, were the weebs. There was an anime club, okay, and to attend it was kind of something of a guilty pleasure. I mean, everyone loved anime, of course, but you really didn't want to seem like too enthusiastic about it. They were, you know, weird, but kind of what you'd expect of weebs. Weebs! God, it feels like 2016. In a lot of ways, the last month has felt like 2016. Good God. But the weebs weren't the bottom tier, though. Actually, you can guess who that was. The lowest rung was reserved for a caste that didn't really exist. At least not in eyesight. But a caste that often found itself the butt of a joke, or the subject of derision, or the other in a flattering distinction. Whether you were a gamer, or a LARPer, or a weeb, or what the fuck ever, at least you weren't a furry. Those people are freaks! Who knows what they're doing? What was weird was that there was no overt furry presence on campus at all. Don't get me wrong, there were furries. It was a nerdy college, okay? They were there. But some were popular and enviable, others were just downright detestable, and most just sat somewhere in the middle. Just people, college students. But they did not conform to the stratification that their hobby should have imposed upon them. But putting down the fandom as a whole made it easy to establish a sense of superiority. No matter how creepy or scummy or weird that you were, in a bad way, you could always tell yourself, well, at least I'm not a furry, thank God. The furry fandom is far from perfect. I mean, there have been things that have happened that made the fandom as a whole look pretty bad. Let's take a stroll down the Furry Hall of Shame.
The hotel was left in ruins.
What's up, my favorite fluffies out there?
Well, we are furries.
This is going to be a quick video. I'm here with Kiro.
If you made it through that without resorting to voluntary self-annihilation, I fucking applaud you. Self-loathing is an extremely powerful form of hate. Striving for perfection and adequacy, and hating anything within us that might prevent that. Being a furry is kind of cringy sometimes. Crazy, I know, wild, holy shit. But to be honest, so is fucking everything. Being a YouTuber is cringy sometimes. Actually, it's cringy a lot of the time. But because it's a sociologically deviant group, the furry fandom can often seem especially cringy. And cringe can be a powerful thing. Just ask a certain canceled breadtuber. Yeah, here's the thing though. It's really easy to look at the montage from earlier and extrapolate that as the furry fandom being cringy, when no, actually it's individuals being cringy. But we're tribalistic apes, and we see communal status more readily than we see individual status in others. And so we more quickly extrapolate their bullshit onto the community that they're a part of, rather than them as an individual. And because being a furry can be cringy sometimes, it makes some in the fandom, whether on the periphery or in the middle, absolutely resent the community altogether. To draw parallels to the gay community, once again, some of the most ardent homophobes are closeted homosexuals. And some of the biggest furry haters on the internet are just a little bit furry. My boy Cothrix is a great example. Dude involved himself in a ton of drama, dove headfirst into the whole Kiro situation, and when it inevitably blew up in his face, he stomped out of the fandom, citing how degenerate and dirty it was. Whether he still feels that way, hell if I know. I don't. But the dude felt ashamed for being a furry. A portion of furries also feel that exact same shame. That's hard to say together, whatever. And some resent the community as a result. And some furries do feel shame for being in the community. And some feel resentment and hatred towards the community as a result. But let's be real, it's kind of a dumb reason. And Cothrix was a massive idiot, associating herself with the worst people in the community and then stomping out of said community, having a hissy fit, kind of makes you an idiot. Especially if you turn around and blame the entirety of the fandom, all because you associated with the worst of the worst. You might as well burn your hand on a stove willingly, like a child who doesn't know any better, and then rebuke the concept of cooking altogether. Your shame doesn't really justify your hate. There are plenty of things that I hate. I hate injustice. I hate nihilism. I hate hornets. They do nothing good. And I hate tasteless hate. If love is a pull, then hate is a push. Hatred of injustice can compel one towards seeking truth and understanding. Hatred of nihilism pushes us to find meaning in our lives. And I don't know what hatred of hornets does. Those little bastards are bundles of hate. But I guess it kind of gets to my next point. Hatred of tasteless hate. Hatred is delicate. It's like a welder's torch. If you don't know what to do with it, then you're gonna hurt yourself, and you're gonna hurt others. Tasteless hate, which I'd argue is the majority of hate in general, is in and of itself absolutely deserving of hate. Because to hate without knowing how to hate, or why one hates, only makes the world a worse place. Hate is a tool, but to be used, you have to know what you're doing. When you feel a compulsion to hate, the best thing that you can do is immediately deconstruct it. Kind of like what we did with furries just now. Let's be honest. Hating furries is kind of pointless. I mean, why do it? And that isn't a rhetorical question. I mean, seriously, why do it? To make yourself feel better? To alienate harmless deviants because it scares you? Unless you're willing to delve into the deep philosophical conundrum of trying to justify what is truly deserving of hate, the only thing you really should be doing with hate is learning from it. Trying to figure out why you hate a certain thing, or what the point in hating it is. Often it's pointless, it's stupid, but it's always selfish. Hatred is always selfish. And because it's so selfish, it's really one of the best windows into the soul that we have. Okay, that's the end. Thank you for watching. Wow, kind of a weird note to end on, but what you gonna do? Don't hate people, don't hate things, it's stupid, don't be a dick. But hey, if you like this video, please hit the like button. I would love that. If you want to subscribe to see more of my content, you can click the subscribe button. What the hell? You can hit the subscribe button down there. Don't forget to ring the bell if you're feeling extra spicy. Truly, please, I love you. But hey, thanks for watching the video. I deeply appreciate it, and I hope you have a good one. Illy, 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 illy.